Hi everyone, welcome to the Icehouse podcast. I'm Bryar Stewart, the community manager at the Icehouse, and today we have Georgia Dive with us, the founder of the Babysitters Club, now known as Bright. Georgia has been involved in the Icehouse through Icehouse Coaching with Jamie Brock. She's based in Tauranga and has sort of come through as a young business owner in the community. So really looking forward to chatting with Georgia today. So thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Bryar.
Awesome. I love to just open it right up with this first question. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Georgia?
Yeah, so I am a mum of a 7-month-old called Mila. She is my absolute pride and joy. And yeah, I guess I am a business owner of Bright, which was formerly known as Babysitters Club. I'm a qualified teacher, primary school teacher. And I guess I'm just really passionate about kind of creating a difference in the lives of children, carers and parents.
Awesome, that's so cool. I've been holding back from asking you all these questions without the mic, so now I'm learning lots about you and I'm really excited. Tell us about the journey of the Babysitters Club. How did it come about?
Yeah, so it's been a big one, that's for sure. I never actually intentionally thought of Babysitters Club as actually being a business. It was just myself and a couple of friends getting to know our community a little bit better, offering our services. I was actually doing my primary school teaching degree at the time. And I ended up taking a gap year in between my second and my third year of my primary school teaching degree, and through one of the clients that I had in Mount Maunganui that I used to babysit for, she actually connected me with one of her friends over in London who I ended up au pairing for. And so while I was over there, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I've actually got a business idea. So I came back, contacted my friend who we had originally been running our little club with, and said, hey, look, let's just set up this as a business, and so in my third year of my university degree I completed my degree.
Nice.
And I also set up the business with her at the same time. Unfortunately, Kerry didn't end up following through with it all. She kind of got tied up with work and everything like that, but she was just such a key person in those initial stages for me. And then I got a scholarship through Waikato University to create basically an idea, and that's where the app was formed. And I was like, I listened to some sort of TED talk and it inspired me about scale or something like that. I can't even remember the exact TED talk, but yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to create this community, I'm going to inspire a whole lot of children. I can reach so many more children than what I could if I was to be in a classroom. So my journey kind of started there, and it's kind of, it's been a big one in terms of figuring out the business world, because I obviously didn't have a business degree either, so it's been a lot of, it's actually just been run by passion, and I think that's actually been the main thing, because a lot of, if I was doing it for money, it would have never ever have been a thing, to be honest with you. I would have given up years ago, but it's just because I'm really passionate about making a difference that I've been able to really succeed in what I have been able to do.
That's so cool. So you, straight from uni, ended up doing this full-time?
Yes. Wow. Oh, well, sorry, no, I worked part-time as a nanny, and then I also set up the business at the same time, and then when we started to grow quite a lot, I ended up having to unfortunately leave the family that I was with, and then obviously just focused on this full-time, and then started it all in.
Wow, what a journey. That's a lot of grit. I'm sure in that there would have been a lot of moments of days where you're just like, it'd be easier to teach essentially or whatever, but I love that the passion has just carried you through.
Yeah, totally.
That's so cool. I love hearing that. What's one thing you wish you knew at the start of this journey?
I think building the right team is pretty critical. I think that you can kind of get blindsided at the start and believe everybody in terms of what they tell you and have a lot of trust. And I guess if you don't have the right team around you, it becomes quite hard to actually get anywhere. Unfortunately, I have put my trust into some of the wrong people along the way, and I think that's probably what a lot of business owners have done at some point. You can be quite naive and a little bit vulnerable, and unfortunately some people can take you for a little bit of a ride. I guess if I was to do it all over, I would definitely just think really critically about who I'm surrounding myself by and who's going to come on that journey with me, because it's really important to have really good people to help you grow, but also be that kind of backbone when things don't necessarily go to plan, because business is an ever evolving thing.
Totally, great advice. What does your team look like now? Is it?
So we've got developers. We've got one in Auckland and in Russia as well.
Wow.
We've got an account manager. We've got Ruby, who's our customer success partner, and we contract to designers and copywriters, and we've got a couple of investors as well. So
awesome. Cool to have a community sort of backing you in this journey too.
Totally, and I've got an amazing advisory board as well.
Cool.
Which I meet up with every month, and they are just such a cool, set of people that have obviously just allowed me to kind of keep me on my plan, which the Icehouse has definitely helped shape that plan in terms of structure and everything like that. So it's been really awesome to have had that, support from Jamie as well.
Yeah, cool. That's so good to hear. Challenge and highlight within the Babysitters Club and now Bright journey.
Yes. So I guess challenge would definitely have been trusting in the wrong people from time to time, not getting lawyers to look over contracts, just signing away on the dotted line and kind of thinking, all will be right. I think in technology especially, a lot of people have had similar experiences where they engage with software developers or companies who develop tech, and then all of a sudden they kind of get into the whole scope of everything, start developing, and then realise it's like way over budget and comparable. Well, the software developer tends to kind of underestimate what was expected of them type thing. So that's been a real challenge for me, is making sure that we have had the right software developers, because we did have a very unfortunate experience at some stage, and I thought I was going to lose my whole business.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah, it was a 2-year battle with with trying to kind of get my software piece together, which was really tough. I mean, that was definitely some of the darkest moments that I've ever experienced.
2 years.
2 years, yeah. It was a very, very long time, and that was just one of the examples of trusting in the wrong people. Thankfully, that company is no longer. I found a whole group of people who actually had their same experience with them. So they just weren't really, they weren't really the right people to obviously engage with. But hey, it's all lessons, and I've learned from that, and I've definitely grown from that as well. And then a highlight is just like the amount of people that we have had some sort of positive interaction or influence on. There's so many people out there that actually have used Bright as one of their main forms of income in terms of carers. They're connecting with all of these beautiful families. And then as well, especially now that I'm a mum, oh my gosh, time is just like so critical, and you don't get much of it. Everything is just go, and you don't get much time to breathe. So the fact that we have actually been able to be that village for so many families is huge, because I guess we've kind of lost that village along the way, because of the fact that people were moving to different locations for work or, all sorts of different reasons. And so, if you don't have that support network around you, it can be really isolating as a parent as well. So I'm just thankful for, that we were able to impact so many people just through, a couple of transactions type thing.
I love just seeing the passion on your face when you get to say the highlight is with the families, and, seeing them have incredible carers in their world, and it takes a village. And then the layer of you now being a mum yourself must just bring a whole new perspective to what you've built.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, I always did, I was always talking to my customers, and I was always, in families' homes, and I continued doing the, one-off care type thing along the way, just so that I remained really close to the business and didn't lose touch of it. But you just can't explain what it's like on the other side once you do become a parent. You're just my eyes are totally open, and some of the assumptions that I had once made are definitely just highlighted in terms of it.
Majorly. Yeah, big time. Totally understand that. I've been mentioning it. So it was the Babysitters Club, now Bright. Can you unpack and explain that refresh and relaunch to Bright?
Yeah, so I guess the connotation of a babysitter is a 14-year-old girl who comes into the house, sits on the couch, watches TV, eats all your food, ignores the children for the duration of the time, and isn't really there to kind of create a difference. And I guess the thing is, we're actually providing childcare professionals versus babysitters who have traditionally come in and just sat on the couch type thing. So I guess Babysitters Club, it was fit for purpose when I was the babysitter and I had a whole bunch of friends. It was a little club, you know what I mean? It was quite informal. But as we've evolved and we've really learned about our customer base and we've provided this, world-class service, I've really realised that, we're so much more than what a babysitter is, and we really wanted to get away from that connotation. And I think as well as that, every interaction does contribute to the person that you do become. So the people that we're putting into family homes, they have got their own little special talent that they're providing, in terms of an interaction to these children. So I really wanted to, build on the whole thing of like bright experiences, bright futures, bright children, bright families, bright carers, and make it kind of all encompassing. And we've got really amazing plans, for our future. And I think education as well is a huge part of what I like to incorporate into our care services as well. So you're not going to have a childcarer that comes in, as I say, and who just sits on the couch type thing. They're going to do something that really engages the children, or they're going to be an additional help while the children are sleeping type thing. So
world class. That's cool. That's so cool to hear about the refresh. Did the name, was it an aha moment where you were like, oh, Bright, Bright, it just makes sense, or was there some process in finding what that new name was going to be?
There was a lot of process. It was really hard. And at the start, I was like, oh my gosh, it's an entrepreneur to my baby, because Babysitters Club was totally my baby. I was quite attached to it, and it was really hard to let go. But there was just so many different names that were thrown out there, and nothing really felt like it was kind of like setting in type thing. But then Bright, when that kind of when we came up with that name, it just felt right, and it really spoke to what we were trying to achieve in terms of that whole thing of creating brighter futures for children and all of those types of things. And I really liked that it played on what we were trying to achieve, and it does open us to many possibilities as well in terms of our future offerings.
Brilliant. So exciting. I'm so excited to hear about the future stuff. You've you have very well articulated the mission and purpose of Bright. Is there anything else you'd want to add to that, or you feel like?
I guess we don't really look at ourselves as being a company as such. We look at ourselves as being a community, and I think that is kind of a point of difference in terms of our offerings. We want to allow that whole sense of flexibility, support, purpose, all of those types of things, not only for ourselves but for the people involved in our community as well. So although we do operate as a business, we are much more of a community type feel. And I think as well is that there is no one size fits all approach when it comes to children or families or carers type thing. So that's kind of our purpose, is to not kind of just be like, all right, here's your carer, here's your family, you guys sort it out. We're really there to kind of, hold people's hands through that whole journey and be part of that with our families as well, and our carers, and obviously the children as well.
Awesome. Great answer. That's cool. How does Bright empower the child, families, and then the carers?
Yes, so as I've just mentioned, there is no one size fits all approach to what we offer. We don't make all the rules ourselves. We actually get to understand our families, we get to understand our carers, and it's all about matching the right people. And as well as that, we empower them, but by the sense that we do have, that we do have other carers available if their sole carer is not free. So I guess that's a really hard thing. It's it's all very well having someone that can come in and look after your children, but what happens if they get sick, or what happens if they're not available? Then you're kind of stuck in the same, predicament of not having that kind of support. So we really empower them by getting to understand them, matching them with the right people, and then obviously supporting them right the way through in terms of, offering activity ideas to our carers, or having, a person behind the phone that people can actually call, whether you're a carer or a family. And I think that directly impacts the child, because of the sense that, the carers actually know what they're doing, the families know what to expect, and they're not kind of coming in and trying to change everything or just do their own thing. They're really kind of understanding what the family needs and what the family wants, and then offering care based on that.
Cool. I was wondering that, and that's so cool to hear that you take the time to get to know the family, what their needs are, and then matching them with the right person is massive. What do you do if a carer, this is just a real niche practical question, but what do you do if a carer is like, I'm sick and I can't look after my family? Like, does that come through to yourself or Ruby, or how does it work?
Yeah, that comes through to us.
Yeah.
So we obviously alerted to that. We always understand why.
Yeah.
So that we can, we don't have an unreliable service, and I think that's one of the main things that if anyone were to talk to you that has been a user of our services, they would say, like, literally you can kind of pretty much guarantee that you're going to get someone great through Bright. But if it does happen, we basically have got a pool of carers that we can obviously tap into, and we make sure that they've got the kind of right experience as well for the children that are requiring care. So we've got that the backup service as well, which is kind of invaluable.
Well, that's the power of community too, the community you've built, eh?
Oh, yeah. Exactly. And we've got so many amazing carers that will actually even drop their own plans because they're like, oh my gosh, this family actually needs help. So, they're not just doing it for a job, you know what I mean?
They get the mission and the purpose behind it and they're backing it.
Totally.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
To build that. And carers is amazing. Like, they obviously feel part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's so special. Cool. I love that. How does Bright work as a technology platform?
Yes, so we essentially allow parents to list one-time or ongoing bookings.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, it's kind of much like Uber in the sense that our carers are then alerted who have the right experience for that role. They are able to apply. The parent sees the profile of the carer or the carers, and then they have the opportunity to select the carer they wish to care for their children or their child.
Cool.
From there, we manage all of the payment. They don't have to worry about overtime or anything like that. The carer then submits their hours through our platform. The carer is paid, the family are charged, and it's as easy as that. So
cool.
I guess it's like, it's pretty much a click of a button, and then you've got someone at hand, and we kind of handle all the nitty-gritty stuff so that they don't have to worry about, paying or legalities or anything like that.
Yeah, brilliant. How long has it taken to get to that point? Like, I'm sure it didn't start like that, right?
No, it was very manual at the start.
Yeah.
So we're actually we have actually just launched our parent app, which is really exciting. And so it is literally super fast. It doesn't take much time at all to essentially book someone. But it started off very manual. It was me getting an email and then literally, posting on groups being like, hey, is anyone free for this family? And then figuring out, do you have the right experience? And then putting them forward to the family, and then obviously they would engage, and then I'd send through a manual invoice, all those types of things. So it would it would take me hours and hours and hours just to kind of my service was always really fast, and the parent didn't have any idea in terms of what was going on behind the scenes, but I would just be constantly going back and forth. So the fact that I have actually been able to do place all of that into a tech platform actually means that we are really scalable, and that we've got our processes really kind of down packed, which is awesome.
Oh, that's so cool. That's really cool to hear. And also because you did the manual work up front, you know exactly what you need at exactly what pace, you know the process that needed to be automated inside and out, right? So I'm sure that then led to it being an easier automation process.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, it's actually really smart to start somewhat manual, because if I had have built the technology platform from the get-go thinking I knew exactly what what I needed or what the parent needed, then I would have something that would be probably redundant today. So by starting manually, I've actually really nutted out those really little nitty-gritty things that do make the hugest difference. So I am thankful that I didn't have kind of all the money in the world to start with to develop this technology platform from the get-go, because as I say, it would have been totally redundant if I had have just gone off assumptions. I've actually really understood my market before I've my users before I have actually developed it. So
absolute gold. That's so important. I think so many business owners can rush into what they think they need before actually knowing what they actually need. So that's a really cool way to go about it. I like that. What's a common myth about the childcare industry that you want to debunk? I really like this question because I feel like there'd be a few.
Yeah, totally. I guess I have mentioned it earlier as well. It's that whole, the carer comes in to sit on the couch and ignore the children type thing. It's so not that. It's actually the polar opposite. And I guess as well, especially for mothers, and I feel like this myself, and I know speaking to other mums and all those types of things, they do feel similar from what I've heard, majority. We feel like we need to do it ourselves all the time, and we feel like, the sense of guilt sometimes if we can't do it all ourselves all of the time. But what I have come to realise now that I actually am using one of my own nannies through my services, so that I can get my work done as well, is that children are actually gaining amazing experiences with other people that I would never be able to provide her myself, So Dee, who is actually looking after Mila right now, she does different things with Mila that I just don't necessarily have the time or the capacity to. And sometimes as a parent, we just are so caught up in making sure everything is organised, making sure her food's ready, making sure that she's kind of, got the right clothing and all of those types of things, that we don't have time for the messy play or the, taking her to the park or all of those types of things, because we're constantly running around trying to do everything ourselves. So I think we really need to actually step back and go, okay, well, if I actually did get some support into, hire a childcarer or hire a cleaner or do all that, hire people to actually support us, then we are actually better off, we're not actually failing, and I think that we need to kind of get out of that whole mindset of doing it ourselves all the time, because
so good to hear. There are different ways to go about it, especially as a business owner and working or within a business. It's getting support is major and such a massive step.
And it actually saves you money. It doesn't cost you money. It's actually, you need to flip it on its head, right? Because I can go out and get so much work done if I have got someone in there caring for Mila. And I think as well, it's just an investment. I'm surrounding her with really good people who have got diverse experiences, and I actually, don't just use one nanny, I use a couple, because of the sense that I like to have that village and I like her to have different experiences, because what Dee offers, Shan offers a totally different thing. So, I think it's,
And the point that it's not just for you, but it's for Mila too, it's for the child too, is massive, because it actually gives a freedom to the mum or the dad or the carer that, it's not a selfish thing that you're doing. It's actually really awesome for your kid too, and it's investing in yourself, which makes you a better parent, because you've been able to invest into you as a person as well, right?
Totally. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be for work, Sometimes I will go to a yoga class or do something like that, because actually, as you say, investing in my time and myself makes me 10 million times better as a parent, because I actually feel like I can actually give rather than just be running around like a headless chicken, just with that, sense of brain fog, which is such a real thing.
Totally. That's so good. Such a good conversation. Cool. I'd love to hear what excites you most about the opportunity to disrupt the childcare industry.
The traditional model of childcare has been, connect this person with this person, and then it's all over to the parent to basically manage. So I guess disrupting the opportunity is that we can actually be a support network to these families right the way through, the whole journey, not just at the start, not at the end, through the whole journey. And we are creating that village. I guess that's one of the main things that I guess that's where the opportunity and lies for me, and excites me.
It's the community piece too, eh?
It is the community piece, totally.
And also, I love what you said there about, instead of the parent essentially project managing the fact that they need to connect their child with this person, and that care is sick, and all that, all of that's taken off their hands, which is massive.
And even to the point of having to manage pay, you know, or do PAYE, or actually even understand your obligations as an employer.
Yeah.
Because I guess when using a service like ours, you're actually engaging with a service, so you're not necessarily having to become an employer or anything like that. Yeah. Whereas if you're hiring an ongoing carer, you actually have all of the legal responsibility to ensure that you're meeting all of those legal requirements, you know. And I guess that those are just the things that as a parent you just don't have the capacity for. And the thing is as well is that, you know, if there is something that needs to be addressed, it sometimes is hard to have those conversations because you don't want to offend those people. Whereas if you've got a community like us, we can kind of step in and have those kind of conversations without it becoming like a really direct, awkward conversation, you know what I mean? Because everybody always has, you know, everybody can always improve in one way or another. And so by using, we actually get our carers to do self-reflection as well as parent reflection in terms of making sure that they are happy in their roles, but also that they feel like they're actually doing a good job as well. And we allow parents to also review the carer. So we're constantly allowing that kind of process to take place to ensure that all parties are actually really happy in their role as well. But self-reflection is a huge thing as well, you know,
great
for our carers.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, wouldn't mind just touching on how you heard of the Icehouse, the coaching opportunity, and any sort of key takeaways that you took from that experience with Jamie. Yeah, so
Jamie is, my husband actually coached Jamie's girls in surfing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we were actually walking down the road, I think it must have been during the first lockdown, and we were like on opposite sides of the road and just having, you know, those hi, I think we must have been on a bike or something like that, and like, you know, we asked, what are you up to type thing, and he said, I'm doing a little bit of coaching, you know, through the Icehouse, you know, for businesses who have been really affected by COVID. And then, you know, obviously from there I was like, we've been affected by COVID, can we kind of engage with you? Awesome. So that's kind of how we engaged, you know, how I started with the Icehouse, which was awesome. And in terms of my experience with him, planning, goal setting, breaking down those kind of high level goals and having actionable tasks associated with them, that was pretty much one of the biggest things that I took away from working with Jamie. He was so thorough in his approach, and he made it feel really simplistic. Cool. He, you know, I guess as a business owner, I'm sure many people who are listening to this can relate, but you just feel like you've got about 5 million things running through your head, your to-do list is never ending, and sometimes you can kind of work on those, I guess, tasks that aren't necessarily going to move the needle. So by creating a really thorough plan and having good focus, that essentially will allow you to succeed, I guess. And that working with Jamie was really great for that. Yeah, awesome. Working on things that will make you money, essentially, right? And move you forward in the right direction rather than getting the overwhelmed sense. Totally. And asking all the questions like the what, the who, the where, the when, you know, the how. So I was kind of just running a little bit blind before I worked with Jamie, to be honest with you. I was just literally filling jobs, kind of just going about my business in terms of making sure that, you know, the service was great, but I wasn't really setting goals or, you know, having any kind of accountability too, right? Yeah, totally. Yeah. Or just even being able to just like tap in, you know, and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or I've just experienced this, what are your thoughts? You know, that was a really nice thing to have that sounding board. Yeah, the sounding board's massive thing that we hear from people that get coaching with Icehouse, that, you know, just having someone external to the business, fresh eyes, you know, bird's eye view, essentially, being able to look in and bounce ideas around with, that's actually underrated as such a great thing to have. Totally. Pocket, eh? Yeah, totally. Yeah. We ended up actually on the news based on, you know, we ended up on the news based on working with Jamie because of the sense that we did have like such a strategic plan in place. And awesome. I mean, that coverage was huge, you know, and that was something that I never would have even thought to have. I was probably just going to kind of just sit behind the scenes and kind of think about, I don't know, little things, you know, in terms of what I could do, but it would have never have been as strategic as what it would have been if I hadn't have, you know, done that coaching with Jamie. Awesome, so cool to hear. I
I love to ask this question. You've recently become a mum to beautiful Mila. How has this changed the way that you do business? And is there any advice for a new mum who's trying to juggle business, motherhood, everything in between?
Yeah, so I am no expert for sure, and it has been really tough, I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to balance everything. I guess it all changed for me, to be honest with you, when I hired a nanny to actually help out. And I didn't want a nanny for 40 hours a week. I didn't want a nanny for 20 hours a week. All I needed was, anywhere between 3 to 10 hours so that I could come in and get some deep work done and actually just really, get that focus back. Yeah. And I tried to do everything myself at the start because, Mila had a little bit of colic and she started teething and I had all the excuses in the world. But what I realised is that, once I got that kind of care and I got a little bit of balance back myself, and I actually felt really alive again because of the sense that I was actually able to use my brain and I felt like I was doing something for myself, and Mila was getting all this awesome care as well. So I guess that's probably my biggest bit of advice is that you don't actually have to hire someone for however many hours a week. It doesn't have to be a full-time, even a part-time thing. It can only be for a few hours and it makes a world of difference. So
brilliant.
That's honestly not coming from a biased approach because of the sense that I did literally try to do it myself at the start.
You're like, take my own advice, take my own product or service, come on.
Exactly. But
good on you. It's awesome. Would love to hear what the future looks like for Bright and maybe how people can connect with you or get your services through Bright.
Yeah, totally. So our future does look bright.
Yeah,
no pun intended. I guess the future looks like really empowering all three key stakeholders. The child, the carer, and the parent. And it doesn't necessarily end with just childcare services. We have definitely got other plans in place to really bring in that education element as well. So I won't speak too much to that because obviously those are future plans. But we are really about building a really strong community for those involved, making sure that they feel supported and inspired along the way. We obviously hope to be the leading childcare provider in the world to begin with, and we're obviously going to do everything that we can do to get there. And I just think as well we're trying to change the stereotype of what a babysitter is.
Massive.
And we want to create career opportunities in what we're offering, so that people can be a full-time carer, even if it means that they're doing it for 6 different families, It doesn't necessarily have to be just for one. And then in terms of finding us, you can download our app, use Bright, or go onto our website, which is usebright.io, or just follow us on Instagram or Facebook. So
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Georgia, of building this beautiful business and community, like you said, for the support that you give to the community around you. And I'm just so excited to watch the journey unfold further. So I really appreciate your time. It's been awesome.
Thanks so much for having me.